The purpose of this video is to demonstrate how the JHM solid short throw shifter addresses the shortcomings we have found with factory and other aftermarket shifters. Here is a fully disassembled factory shifter. What I want to show you is the shortcomings of the shifter if it was used for a performance application. First off, we have a steel hollow shaft with a molded plastic base. Under severe abuse, the plastic is going to allow a deflection and possibly break. The next main problem we're finding is with the pivot ball assembly that goes in the shifter base. You can see the large amount of travel allowed in this. It is loose here. It is also loose how it fits the shaft. You can see that side-to-side movement right there. So we got a lot of extra slop put in there. It's going to take away from the feel. You'll have less feel. You won't be able to tell what gear you're in. You're going to have trouble finding gears. You're going to have notchiness. Also, these rubber bushings around here, they're going to make it feel soft and smooth, which is great for factory applications, but it's not good for performance. And that leads into how loose the ball is in there. It can pop right out. Those are the primary things we found wrong with the factory shifter. Here we have your typical aftermarket short throw shifter disassembled. One of the biggest shortcomings of this shifter is the same shortcoming that the stock shifter had. It reuses this pivot assembly. In actuality, it tends to be a little bit worse because the fitment of this piece onto the ball actually has more slop than the factory shifter. So it's going to make it feel worse. Also, we found with this shifter and some others is that they use an aluminum base with a steel shaft. As most of us know, steel will, over time, destroy aluminum. If you can see on this base, it's heavily gouged. This is just normal street use for a couple of years. You can only imagine what would happen if it was used for racing. So we wanted to also address that. There's another shifter that I do not have with us. It's an improvement over this. It does replace this plastic ball with a steel ball. However, as you can see, we still retain the rubber cushioning and the plastic outer cage. Now we have a fully disassembled JHM solid short throw shifter. As you can see with our kit, it comes with all new components. We supply new bushings for your spring, we supply a new spring, and we supply a new snap ring. We do not reuse the plastic spring piece as per most other of the kits. We also install a little bit stiffer spring with our kit. First off, our major improvement was in the pivot assembly that the shifter pivots on. If you compare it to the stock assembly, there's a large difference. Ours has an aluminum exterior, this has a rubber exterior. Ours has a steel inner race and bearing, this has plastic with a lot of play. So even the ones that have the steel inner ball, they still retain the outer assembly. They do not have an aluminum outer cage. We'll now address the bottom pivot piece that hooks to your linkage. Ours is a fully welded, TIG welded steel unit. Here is the typical machined aluminum, nice and lightweight, but not very durable. As I mentioned earlier, this one is gouged pretty heavily from just a couple years of use. In racing conditions, it'd probably be worse. Here's the stock base. Some people who actually shorten their stock shifters by re-drilling the hole in this can actually make this weaker. That's another kind of shifter out there. So we don't have that problem. We haven't reused this aluminum and drilled it and made it weaker. And these have been known to fail from this. Here's the stock shaft. Pretty much the same length. We have the Brand X short throw. You see ours fully steel. Everything's incorporated. The length and everything is the stock shifter. We dropped our pivot point down for about a 35% reduction. This shifter has about a 35% reduction. But they also shortened the shaft up here to give it the appearance that it had an even shorter throw. It actually makes it harder to shift, in my opinion, because the ball sits at such a lower point, you cannot get a good handle on the shifter. You got more of a downward movement when you're trying to shift the vehicle. So those are all our improvements, and this is our complete kit. I will now move on to the actual base assembly and the improvements we made there. Our final improvement is with the actual base shifter that goes into your vehicle. The big improvement we made here was on these slider shafts that allow the shifter to move forward and backwards with the transmission. These bushings are rubber, and as you can see here, there is a lot of movement in them allowed. When you're shifting side to side, it'll move a lot, and when you go forward and backwards with your gear changes, it's going to move a lot. We use Delrin. You can see it slides fine, and the lack of movement is excellent for giving you more control and more feel of your shifting. Here is how the rubber bushing looks out of the assembly, and here are the Delrin bushings we supply. They come split in half, and you use a snap ring to assemble them. We didn't modify the base in any other way. We found it quite strong. You can see the stock pivot drops right back into there, and you can do the same with our pivot. Being that it's a precision piece, it does take a little bit more effort. It snaps right in, you drop in the snap ring, it will work like your stock shifter with a lot less slop in it. You may ask, why were we using the stock plastic base for the shifter assembly? There are several reasons. First off, we found it to be very strong, and it withstood any punishment we threw at it. We did lots of power shifting, lots of racing. We also tested it inside of our shop. We took a hammer to it, a vise, we slammed it on the ground, and it held up to all the tests with no failures. We feel confident that this piece will not be the weak link in the system. In conclusion, we would like to thank you for watching this video, and feel free to watch our other videos. We have an installation video, and we have several other drag racing videos showing off how this shifter can be shifted in an Audi.